where they were just hammering them. Tristan Thompson, remember, isn't really playable unless he's doing what he was doing tonight, which was earning a game ball in that first half by grabbing rebounds, putbacks. He made a couple free throws. Oh, and by the way, it really tells you something when, like, I think Klay Thompson missed his first 2 free throws, and they missed a bunch of free throws in that first half. The Warriors did. So it was an interesting sort of confluence of events going on here. Perhaps the extra day got them out of sync as well. I don't think that the nightlife in Cleveland is that exciting, but maybe if you're from Cleveland, tell me. Maybe there was some trouble to get into that they got the visitors a little bit off. So, interesting game. This was the game that the Cavaliers were going to get, it felt like. We really hadn't had too much of an inclination that they were going to get back in this series based on games 1 and game 2, but it was good to see some fight in them, and it felt like this was going to be it. So now we got to find out what Steve Kerr is going to do to adjust. Now, the big elephant in the room is that Kevin Love was not cleared to play, and the result was the Cavaliers destroyed them. And those are 2 things you probably can't really overlook, because that is certainly a thing. With him not playing and their defense being better, those are certainly 2 things that are key. What was interesting to me earlier today, I was thinking about this, was that we've seen some elite defenses in the past few years with pretty bad playing power forwards, or bad defensive power forwards like David Lee and Carlos Boozer. And what we came up with going through that footage was that when you had like an elite rim protector and an elite wing defender, that can kind of balance out the bad power forward position. And that was one thing, obviously, that the Cavaliers tended to be missing, was that they didn't really have the rim protector is sort of there with Tristan Thompson, and then they didn't really have that wing defender either to kind of shore up that defense. So with Kevin Love out, at least you had, someone like Jefferson who could sort of at least keep somebody in front of him a little bit, and that changed the whole dynamic. And also what we did see with LeBron that was troubling on his defense was trying to help Kevin Love too much. And it did remind me of David Lee when he was with the Warriors, where he would come in and he would kind of be in okay position, but everyone else was like so intent on helping him that they all got out of position and they would give up a score almost to no fault of David Lee. And I kind of want to feel that was the same way with Kevin Love, that he was definitely out of position quite a bit in the first 2 games. But we saw some times when LeBron James would help out without needing to, just thinking, oh, it's Kevin Love, I must help out, and then his man scores. So some really interesting stuff. Let's go to some questions to start off the bat. I know we got a ton of them so far. So if you use hashtag BBallShow on Twitter, I will answer your questions live and give you a nice big shout out. So are we ready to go to the questions? Of course, this didn't take me to where I needed to go and play the thing. So let me try this one more time so I can read them. Live TV, folks. Great. And now it's not my camera's off. What happened? Oh, I'm sorry, you're sharing. Okay. I can't see the questions because this is not loading. Let's go over here to somewhere else where we have questions. Stand by. The iPad is not a great thing to use. I will say that. So, actually, you know what? You have them here. I'll just read them from here. So, okay, our first question is from Vishu Yi. You have pointed to LeBron's declining athleticism. How can he adapt his game in the future to prolong his career? That's a great question. I think we're going to see a lot more posting up. And, that was really where he's going to be able to feast down low with his size. So I think that's where he's going to hopefully develop even better post game. And he's got to improve his three-point shooting without question, because they're going to give him that shot for the rest of his career. Alfredo asks, 3-0 comebacks happen in Major League Baseball and NHL, but not the NBA. Why are 3-0 comebacks impossible to overcome in the NBA? That's a great question, and I kind of want to know why they happen in the Major League Baseball and hockey, because they're impossible as well. So, it's really hard to beat a team 4 times in a row. It's hard to beat a team 3 times in a row. It's just simply hard because there's enough adjustments to make. Guys get cold. Guys get beat up and hurt. It's a difficult thing to do. TWB asks, what's wrong with the MVP? It's a great question. And every once in a while, we will see Steph Curry have a game like this where he simply just is disengaged, not really with it. And this is what happened tonight. It was one of those nights. You hope it doesn't happen very often if you're a Warriors fan. But, not everybody can come and bring it every single night like, a guy like Michael Jordan used to. Romo350 asks, what happened to LeBron at halftime? Did he take some magic pills? Because he was balling in the second half. Well, it's really easy to hit shots when you're up by 20. I will say that. And so he was ISOing and hitting these long twos. And, those are all great. They're all good shots to make. I didn't like the shots necessarily, but, when you're up by that much, they're a lot easier to make. So Romo also asks, great show. Happy hump day. Yes, absolutely. Wednesday. Ron John, you are such an awesome cat. Why did Kyrie do different besides his shots were falling? That was it. I mean, he was ISOing again, the ball stopping, but he was nailing shots. And when he's like that and gets off, then he's a really tough guy to cover. And we don't know if that's going to happen again, but it was a good confluence of events. Kyrie got hot, was playing well, and then Steph and Clay and those guys were just disjointed. They were disconnected. They weren't focused. It was strange. Let's see. Vishu asks, obviously the Love injury was a blessing in disguise. Can he be reintegrated into the rotation without harm, or should he be benched? No, he should be reintegrated, but I would definitely look at just bringing him off the bench. I think that would probably be a good opportunity for them. Frank Falcone asks, is this win due to no Love? Without question, not having Love on defense helps the Cavaliers. And so if that also, again, like we said, if that stops guys from trying to overhelp to compensate for him, and then also makes them better, and his absence simply was a net positive for them. Takio asks, do you think LeBron James is the best quarterback in the NHL? I don't know. That's an interesting mixed metaphor there. Romo350, what is your coaching record and percentage if you keep track? My coaching record, I don't even know. I haven't coached for a couple of years now. I don't even remember what it was when I did. Sheep tweets, is it a problem for the Cav team with Kevin Love out winning this game in a blowout? It's certainly not a problem for the Cavaliers team. They're more than happy to get back in the series with a nice blowout. Let's see, Ron John, guess who's my favorite player? Is he a bench player on the Bulls team? Okay. Dan, is this a team being rewarded for making bad shots and another missing good shots, or is this how Cleveland has to win? There was definitely some bad shot making going around. And the Warriors have perfected this, and they are good enough to kind of, overcome a 3-1 deficit against the Thunder to do it. The Cavaliers aren't as good as this, and but that said, they did also get a lot of good shots. So it was an interesting mix. They were on fire, and once you get out 15, 16 points, those shots are just easier to make. There's not a lot of pressure on you, and you can extend that lead. So it's going to be up to the Warriors to not allow that again. T-Log asks, what adjustments must the Warriors make? Should they play Bogut and Ezeli less and have Dre at center more? I don't know if it's going to be a lineup adjustment. I think it's a mental adjustment where they need to get back to focusing on how to get out there and be as aggressive as they normally are. Even on the offensive end, they were just listless and kind of going through the motions. They weren't really running their sets either. Their offense looked pretty random for a lot of that first half. Motion, but sort of no purpose, no sense of how they wanted to attack. And if it was Kevin Love not being in there and they didn't quite understand what they needed to do, that's strange. And they couldn't get it going. Lucas Trevisano asks, what's the answer to getting Steph Curry back to his MVP form? I guess they're going to have to get him back into more straight high pick and rolls. Just let him get dribbling, push the ball more. We're going to have to do a little bit more of an examination on what happens when he brings the ball up versus when he's off the ball, because there might be a key there that we'll look into over the next couple of days. Let's see here. Jaywalks asks, okay, he's talking about never picked up the dribble, carry instead. Can you dribble over your head? If you don't bring your hand over the ball, this is really in response to that Iguodala double dribble call, which I didn't agree with. And I asked Ronnie Nunn, our ref here, and he also didn't agree with it either. He thought it was, you can kind of like throw the ball in front of you and run after it, which is what it looked like. So it was, I think, an interesting call. And there's no question the Cavaliers were home, so they got some calls. That's not even to shake a head at. Nick Bai asks, did Cavs win the game, or will the Warriors let them win? I think it was a little bit of both. I think the Warriors just didn't come to play, and the Cavaliers certainly did. Dave Linfield, aberration, game plan, or just Love, less difference? I think that's what we're talking about here, which is I think it was an aberration as far as the listlessness of the Warriors. They just were not into it. And other than that, the Love absence is palpable without question. And then the game plan, I got to look at it again and see anything else they were doing that was different. I just thought they were a lot more active on their switching and covering those backdoor cuts. However, we did still see a lot of openings that the Warriors missed, which is also strange because that never happens usually. Matthew Barlow, why so many blowouts in these playoffs? That's a great question. I don't know. I don't know. It's like, the consistency of effort and focus is just not there. Maybe that's what the new NBA is. And then Matthew also asks, in your eyes, was the Cavs' defense that primarily caused the Warriors' struggles? I think it's half and half. I don't think it's completely the Warriors. There was something happened from the beginning before the Cavaliers can impose their will that got them off, and that's an issue. There's no audio. That was 11 minutes ago, but I'm seeing levels, so it looks like it should be working. But let me know if you still hear it now, and we'll check it. Let's see here. How did Jefferson affect Cleveland's defense? Did Golden State's offense rely somewhat on abusing Kevin Love's defense in the past games? Jefferson is a lot more aggressive on defense. He moves better. He's smaller, but he's able to cover more ground, and that's a big difference. I'm going to look at it a little more closely when I go through the breakdown and see what I see on the replay. Do you think that Golden State took the game off to conserve energy for winning on their home court? No way. They couldn't have done that consciously. They might have sort of felt like, oh, we're going to coast, not a problem. But that's not a conscious thing. They can't afford to give away a game. Josh, it's certainly been an unusual final so far. Makagi asks, was limiting Delhi's second half minutes effective? LeBron took his place as backup point guard for part of the third. Yeah, I mean, they extended their lead, and they looked a lot better. So that certainly worked. If the Cavs were to sit Kevin Love out for the rest of the series, would it give them a better shot at beating the Warriors? Probably. It's just not his series. This is not a series for Kevin Love to do well in. Alban asks, do you think that Golden State mainly lose because of the sloppiness of the ball? That certainly was a big downfall. They were as sloppy could be. But we've seen that happen. That is nothing necessarily new for the Warriors. Zachary, hey, Coach Nick, do you think Kerr should go small and substitute Iguodala in for Bogut? If it's going south again, they could try anything and just keep going smaller, I guess. But they were getting so murdered on the offensive boards that I can't believe they would go that small. Ken L., why was no foul called on Harrison Barnes knocked to his head off Kevin Love? It was a bang-bang play, very quick. He was going for the ball. Sometimes the refs are looking at the body contact and not quite the head area. So that stuff happens. Should Iguodala start? Well, Harrison Barnes did really well. So if you're talking about starting him for Bogut, I just think that's too small. They're going to get hammered again on the offensive glass. Makagi asks, how important is it that LeBron feels just as comfortable with his jumper in Game 4? I think it's really comfortable because they clearly want to give LeBron the jumper. And if he's going to make him like that, like pulling up for three in transition, then it's over. Throneless Kings. A lot of questions focus on the Cavs, but I ask, if you were Kerr, what would you do differently for the Dubs in Game 4? Whatever I would do, it has to be a mental side of it. He needs to get them, ready to play from the beginning. Perhaps they just came in sort of way too confident, and he's going to have to shake that and give them a better sense of urgency. And how do you do that? You show them all these plays and how they took them off. And if that doesn't motivate them, then they're going to be in trouble. Who had the better game, LeBron or Kyrie? That's a great question. We'll have to look at the numbers, but I think LeBron did pretty well. Would you consider benching Love and starting Richard Jefferson for the remainder of the series? Absolutely. I think it's a done deal, Nathan, that RJ should start the rest of the time. Let's see here. What are the tips and keys you told your team to beat the mental chance and pressures when playing away games? It's a great question. What would I tell my players? It's hard. You can't just say block it out, don't listen to it. I think it's the process. You have to just focus in on what you're doing and what the offense is and what the defense is for that specific play. And if you can get enough of that focus on that and not get worried about everything else that's going on for the score or what's happening the play before, and if you can stay in the moment, then the things like the crowd and the visiting atmosphere don't bother you as much. Audra asks, should Love start or Jefferson keep the spot? Love should definitely continue coming off the bench or not playing at all. I think this is a good key for him. So hang on for 1 second because I'm going to. All right, so we got a problem here with this. Let's go out of that. Okay. Okay. Did you play? Let's see here. Where do we leave off? Buddy, our buddy is telling everyone to watch our show. Thank you. And definitely read his stuff when he publishes it on our website. What are the Cavs doing to shut Steph and Clay down? It's a great question. I'm going to have to really study it because I feel like nothing is coming to mind. They just don't look like they're running hard. Armando Pena, what is going on with Curry? He is off. Is he injured still? He's not going to Rio. Well, he wants to, his knee is obviously needs to be, taken care of over the offseason. So that's why. And I don't know. I'm going to take I promise to do a breakdown for tomorrow, a really deep dive on what's happening there with it, because it doesn't really make much sense to me why they're not doing a little bit better. So let's see. Well, the next question we have here is, did I play high school basketball? I did. I absolutely did. I was on a really good team in Chicago, and a couple of those guys played D1, and I went to Wisconsin and became a manager. Rafael Contravita asks, they improved their defense by watching your video. By the way, I did notice LeBron attacking Steph Curry a little bit, and that was interesting, and it worked for them like a charm, and they looked like they had that as a focus. So perhaps they did. You never know. Andre Stana asks, what are your thoughts on Lou's adjustment? I don't know if he really made an adjustment besides being forced to start Richard Jefferson. So that changed the dynamic of everything, and the defense was just that much better, and it could very well be because of that. Let's see here. Shouldn't Clay know better? Yeah, right. Bakagi, I did a Vine where I was worried that Clay kind of passed up what should have been a layup attempt to shoot a three, a contested three, and that's a real problem. Coach, do you think that RJ can be the Robertson for the Cavs? Yeah, he's not as good defensively. He doesn't move as well anymore, but he can still move a little bit. So he can certainly be that role, but he's also a much better shooter. David Wu, with the Game 3 blowout and the Cavs confident at home, what are the odds of Cavs winning Game 4? They've got to be pretty strong at this point because they've been playing so well for their whole playoffs, and I kind of poo-pooed that, thinking that it didn't really matter. And then really quickly, Kevin, can you open that in QuickTime instead, which is option click it, and then you can quit out of that. Use QuickTime instead. The question here is, is it an anomaly? I don't know. But whatever it is, the Cavs home cooking or something really, really helped them tremendously. And they have to be favored a lot with, in Cleveland for sure. So we're getting our clips fired up here for did you get it? No? No, control click on that, and you open it with QuickTime. Sorry, we still got some bugs here to work out. There you go. All right, and then full screen. We're going to go over to our clips here for the highlights. We have some from the first half. Unfortunately, we had some difficulties with our highlights from the second half. So let's do this, and I'll just control it from here. All right, so we have – where's the list? You'll find a list in there. Our first clip is – in the first quarter. Let's move this out of the way so we don't see it. Over here. All righty. Cool. In the first quarter, we're going to get a really cool blind pig here, which is a little bit of the David Blatt influence. When you watch this, you'll see they push the ball up to the wing, and then they're going to try to get into their motion, and it's played very well. You'll see here that Steph Curry is now denying the ball in a good position here to Kyrie, and what the next pressure release here is hit the high post here, and then Kyrie cuts back door. It's blind pig right at the triangle offense. Gets a nice little open jumper. That's really nice play here, and that's always my favorite way to attack pressure. When you have the denial here, hit the ball in the middle. The guy cut. The reason why he'll be open is because he's out of position, and boom, gets it right in there. Bogut is nowhere in position, and nice easy shot. The next one we have is the more good offense by the Cavaliers. they're going to do a high post split, which is an entry to the high post, and then the wing will set a screen for the corner in a split in front of the high post. And let's see what they get out of this one here. So you got Curry and Clay defending, and this is a nice job. They switch it and they bump. You can see Bogut comes over to also help, which is nice because it's Tristan Thompson, who he can ignore a little bit. And so this flows. Now, what I don't like about it too much is that LeBron has to stand there with the ball, but I do like how they flow this into a pick and roll. So normally you would see this guy, JR, cut around and go all the way through to the right side, but instead he reads this and decides to set a screen. Now, Curry is in the wrong position here, although he was unaware this is going to be a ball screen, it appears. So now that he's in the inside, he's literally screening his own man. There's no way to stop LeBron, and he gets all the way to the hoop for the layup. Nice play. Okay, a little bit later, we're going to go find Kyrie Irving is going to get a 3 out of this. And so let's see what happens here. This is 25, where the 2 guard sets a pin down for the 5, and the 5 sets a ball screen for the point guard. Now, that little pin down here got Maurice Spates way out of position. See that? He should have been at least 4 steps higher. And so now Clay goes underneath the screen. Kyrie has already been on fire the whole first quarter. This is not the time to go underneath and give him a wide open shot. By the way, look at this turn. Let's watch the ball go through. So clean. But watch this turn that Kyrie. Now, first of all, Kyrie is going to his right, so you need a natural turn to get the right hip and right elbow in line with the basket. But as you can see this, watch in the air, he got nice sway, and then when he lands, he's going to be 90. Look, he's 90 degrees to the basket. Look at his feet. That's crazy. And it's not crazy. It's like how he does it. And he's probably the most severe turner in the NBA and a really good three-point shooter. Okay, let's move on to the second quarter, where we have an interesting turnover here. So this is there's a few ways to start your offense. You can either make a pass from the guard to forward, which is how we did it for a long time without really ever doing much of the dribbling over, or you can dribble to the wing. You already have the corner filled here on like a numbers break, and then there's LeBron. This is also another high post split. So the high post split here, there's Jefferson. He's going to go away, which is what we normally see. Remember, we had J.R. Smith screen the ball here last time. And so now they're looking to swing it. This becomes too much of a stagnant set. LeBron should be dribble pitching or should be doing something else instead of just standing there. And he, because of that, look, terrific fight by Barbosa. They switch this, and Barbosa stays on the inside, stays low, and then contests that pass and gets the steal. That's great defense. Now, what I wanted to show you was a good offense here. Nice little solo pass there. But why was that so far open? Well, I wanted to show you the effort that Iman Shumpert doesn't have on the way back, because it's really troubling to me. So watch Iman Shumpert in the bun on the right side of your screen here, where he's just not going to run hard. Look. There was a second there, was like, oh, I better run a little bit harder. But let's watch him. Look, jog, 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 jog. Oh, I better, and then jog, 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 and then kind of gives up and then gets a dunk. That's not acceptable. That's really troubling to me when you watch that in the finals. He should have been there a little faster. Now, we move on to later in the second quarter with 9:30 left, and it's here's what they're doing to guard LeBron. So they get a switch. We can hard to see what happens here, but they get Draymond on LeBron. And they're just going to give him some space. Like, go under that. Look, they go under that screen. They're like, please shoot it. Look how much space he's giving him. He's giving him about 6 feet of room. And they're just going to say, please shoot it. And again, he goes under the screen again into the lane. And the problem, though, is they get him a little bit too close. I wouldn't be really happy with that. Good contest of the shot, though. And LeBron can't make it. But we saw later how LeBron started nailing these shots that were farther up. But that's what the Warriors want to do to defend LeBron. A little bit later in the quarter, we get a Kyrie 3. Okay, so this is an interesting thing. So first, they start with Dellavedova was calling the play here. He's going to inbound the ball. But then, I like this. All of a sudden, LeBron's like, no, let me get this. And they change the play. And I wonder if that's actually even on purpose to kind of get the defense out of sorts, because when you see what happens here, now they're going to break out Dellavedova, and you're going to see Kyrie is sort of in position to set a back screen for LeBron. That's what it looked like to me, right? He's kind of trying to set a screen, but guess what? It turns into a pin down for Kyrie, and he's wide open for a 3. Nice little subtle move there where they make it look like Kyrie was setting the back screen, and instead it turns into a pin down. We saw the Hawks used to run this a lot with Kyle Korver would actually set that screen. Really clever stuff, and it get them a big bucket. A little bit later in the quarter, we have, okay, so here they get their basic motion offense in here. And, the faster you get into your offense, the easier it is to break down the defense. But here, let's see what's going on. This is going to be a curl on the weak side, Harrison Barnes pinned down. Nobody's in this corner over here now. It's vacant. There's no help on that side. So as you see Barbosa make that curl, good screen by Barnes, it forces the step up here on the defense. And now it's a foot race, right? Kyrie needs to run in a straight line toward the hoop to try and get that pass. But instead he pauses for that little bit of a second. It gives Barbosa plenty of room to make that pass. He's got to recognize that right away. Once Kyrie is here. Once he's here, it's over. He's too far behind the play. He needs to go the right foot needs to step right toward the basket. The left foot needs to go, and instead that left foot here, look, he goes toward the ball. That's the mistake. It's got to be more toward the basket, and then he could probably maybe get a hand on that pass. He wasn't that far off anyway. All you got to do is knock out of bounds. Okay, let's move on to the next clip we have here, which is at 7:16. And we have Tristan Thompson just doing work. So they start out with a quick drag screen. Thompson rolls hard. Again, they get a switch now, which is not a terrible switch. Harrison Barnes is a good defender, and he's got a lot of length on Kyrie. Kyrie tries to isolate and does get right into the lane, and that's the problem here. Once that happens, he gives him the straight line drive right to the basket. That forces Draymond to rotate over. Now, Iguodala was in good position, but he's no match really for Tristan Thompson, who's going to get his body in there. He's going to hold him off. I don't like what Iggy did here. He just sort of tried to push with his arms more and got out of balance really quickly. That lets Tristan Thompson get in there. Now, the other problem was I know that it's LeBron, it's Livingston on LeBron. You don't want to help one pass away, but LeBron doesn't shoot that well from three, even from the corners, I don't think. So here's the problem. I like what he did. He kind of gives him a show or whatever, but now once the ball goes there off of the block, he's got to grab it. It's right there for him. Instead, he's like trying to take off and run down the court. It gives Tristan Thompson another advantage, and this is sort of the story of the whole game where the Warriors were just slow all night. Now, we talked about this shot a lot in the past with LeBron. I think he ends up getting it off lefty, but this going to your left, shooting with the right, twisting, floating, he kind of throws it up lefty. It's just not a good look. He doesn't make a lot of those. Last year in the finals, he shot a ton of them and shot very poorly. But again, why does Tristan Thompson get that rebound? With the easy middle drive. Again, remember, Livingston's not supposed to, he wants him to shoot this shot. I know he doesn't have to close out and get out of position, but then look at his feet. His right foot's too low. He's letting dribble penetration. That right foot should be up, and he should be forcing the help to the baseline. So once that happens, you're going to see Harrison Barnes is trying to box out. Okay, let's see. Oh, all right, so Tristan Thompson gets both hands in the back and pushes off and gets that rebound. But that's okay. They're home. Gets the free throws. That's what it's about. All right, let's move on to 5 minutes left. So here they ran, let's see, what did they run here? Another high post split. So they ran a lot of high post splits, which is a little bit different than what we'd seen, and they invert this. So what we had seen before was Kyrie setting a screen for the corner. In this case, it's Jefferson. But instead, it's because of this matchup here, Jefferson says, no, I'm going to set a flare screen for Kyrie. There it is. Now they switch it, and by the way, look at this. Jefferson has perfect inside position for the backdoor cut, but LeBron doesn't see it, or actually Jefferson's late getting it. But there's also the same kind of action on the weak side with a flare screen here. Curry's head's turned, and they catch him here, and a nice little pass to JR, who just steps back and nails a three. And that's what they've been waiting for all series long. In the second quarter, a little bit later, we have high horns. So now they bring up Kyrie. They bring the double wedge out to guard to screen, and they get the switch. Now, Draymond on Kyrie, again, isn't really a huge advantage for the Cavaliers. So let's see how this plays out. They get Clay on LeBron. That's also not a huge advantage. Okay, but then they finally screen for Steph. Now, if you saw our breakdown yesterday, we talked about how they need to screen for LeBron with Steph's man. That is what's going to get the switch, and then LeBron can attack Steph. This is their one area where they can really get a lot of traction here with. And why? Because the defense is all going to rotate over on this, and you can see that the spacing is not great with the defense. They didn't need to be so far in here on this one, and Jefferson sets a flare screen on Draymond. He can't get around. Actually, he does do a nice contest, and so does Livingston. Not bad. They forced the miss, but guess what? This is what's been killing them all game is the offensive rebounding. And Harrison Barnes down here also doesn't really control Tristan Thompson that well. He gets right back in there, Kicks it out again. Look, another three. This is all from LeBron getting Curry on him, and they miss it. But these are the good shots they've been trying to get, and it's a big difference now when you see it when they actually do get that. So, let's go back to our last round of questions, and then we'll wrap it up. What do you say, sports fans? Let's get our screen sharing and see how many more. We got a few more questions, it looks like, here. So, we have, let's see here. Where do we leave off here? Where? Okay, here we go. Tokyo asks, I was wondering how many hours do you think you work per day? Just an estimate. Well, I get back, in my office around 8:30 in the morning, and I'm usually here until about 6:30 p.m., and with a little lunch in there. So it's a long day, a lot of studying. Josh Gunther asks, how do you think Golden State will respond to this performance? I'd have to imagine they're going to come out a lot more aggressive and a lot more focused, and it'll be a much different game. Let's see here. Ken asks, yeah, Barnes did well. Or did he? That's not quite a question. Gabo, which team is better off playing at a higher tempo? The Warriors, without question. When it's a higher tempo up and down, that's when things get looser. They can get open threes and drives. I think it plays right into their advantage. Ken asks, if the Warriors play solid man-on-man D and watch their switches run down, shot clock, and force bad shots, can they win the series? Yes, it's the solid man-to-man D. That's all. That's all I got to do. Throneless Kings, thanks for answering my questions. No problem. Joe Yang, is Golden State in trouble? They're not in trouble yet because they're still up. Let's talk after Game 4. Who do I think wins Game 4? I mean, it's put into a lot of doubt, but I don't know. I still think the Warriors laid an egg here, and they're not going to play that way again. Vishu Y, is there a concerted effort to get Curry in foul trouble? Great question. There should be. I'm going to look at the fouls. It's not clear to me that those were all like, oh, we're going to go at him. Some of them were just sort of random, he just kind of got caught in a bad position. But without question, that's a good idea to do. AC, how can LeBron keep up his energy to force a game 6 or 7 with the amount of minutes he plays? It's just mind over matter. That's all it is at this point. Ken, if Warriors just let LBJ score one one-on-one matchup but shut down other players, yes. They can absolutely do it that way. If they can get LeBron to not be a passer and to be a scorer only, then the Warriors win that. John Bang, why doesn't Kerr play Barbosa more, provide scoring? I mean, I think he's playing, he's playing. It's not like he's not playing a lot, but he's got his regular minutes, I think, back. So I don't know. I wouldn't say it's that he's benched him or like really taken away that many minutes, but he's doing fine. Let's go to our next question here, which is the Cavs have moments with ball movement. Why do the Cavs more often not stand still and wait for LeBron to create something? It's a thing that they have to overcome, and it's a mindset. It's the way they've been playing, and if they don't adjust that, then it gets real stagnant really fast, and they're going to have trouble scoring. N asks, if you were Kerr, what on-court adjustment would you make to get Curry back to his form? I don't know. It's just the routines that he has before the game are pretty consistent. He's just got to continue to do that, and it'll come. Coach, I wish you could draw the screen for the clips, X's and O's NFL style. I need a telestrator, so if you have one of those, send it over. Let me know if there's one like that I can draw on the screen over video. I tried finding one a couple of years ago, never could find it, and maybe they have one now. Lucas Trevicino, why is LeBron such a poor shooter? His mechanics don't seem to be too poor. He's shooting on the way down. I think that's one problem. His elbow always stuck out a little bit. And that's one of the things I think is the biggest issue. He's kind of hanging in the air too long. LeBron had a good mix of mid-range days and drives this game. I thought he forced drives in previous games. LeBron is not one to force, and he's usually going to take good shots that way. So I have no problem. A pin down. I guess I can do a video on that, Ken. It's basically when the screener is facing the baseline, and the guy curls around, comes up from the basket area up toward the wing or somewhere. Well, thanks, Ken. I appreciate it. Now let's go to our quick stat review, and we'll look at what was going on quarter by quarter, and one of my favorite segments that we have here. Okay, so remember, if you go to statsonnba.com, you can go quarter by quarter here and check it out. Well, first let's look at the all quarters. So let's see what we have here. Let me make sure that I am sharing correctly. Can we all read this? I think it's big enough. I'm going to make it one bigger. All right, let's try that. So what we have here is, for the game, let's see what we did. Harrison Barnes did some real work, 7 for 11, 18 points, 8 rebounds, terrific stuff there. That's what they need from him, but they couldn't get much from anybody else. Steph actually 6 for 13. It's strange. He's not getting a lot of shots, and that's going to be the question and why these were limited. 4 for 13, 6 for 13. And that's it. They weren't getting much else. Andre Iguodala did okay, shot well. Again, not many shots. On the Cavaliers side, LeBron James was, what we predicted, I guess, was going to come out aggressive, score 32, 11 rebounds, 6 assists. Terrific game from him, but 30 from Kyrie. That was the big one, too, where he was aggressive like he had been, but he was, nailing some shots, shot very well from the perimeter as well. 8 assists. That's what they need from him. And then you go 20 points from J.R. Smith, and that was another one, a big awakening from him. Not much you can do. This is what the Cavaliers had envisioned, these 3 guys scoring a lot of points, plus some good defense. Let's go quarter by quarter. By the way, let's just look at that real quick as far as minutes for Leandro Barbosa, 16. Yeah, I mean, he should get to about 20. And you can see -4 for his plus-minus is pretty good. All the bench guys did okay. Again, the bench has been pretty good. It's the starters that are killing them. So let's go to the first period. First period, and see who was quarter by quarter, who was doing what. Okay, so in the first quarter, pretty balanced here. 4 points for Andre, 3 points for Harrison. They only scored 16 points. It was a pretty bad start for the Warriors without question. And then the Cavaliers went off with Kyrie, 16, 7 for 9. They couldn't stop him at all from anywhere on the court. And that was it. They got 8 points from LeBron, 4 for 4 shooting. So those 2 guys were just killing the Warriors. They had no chance to stop them. In the second quarter, it was a little bit different, where all of a sudden Clay got hot after getting hit with that screen, which actually could very well become a problem tomorrow when that swells up a little bit more. But we had Clay had 10 points in the second quarter on hot shooting, and 9 points from Harrison Barnes, who also was doing very nicely. And they got 29 to 18. And then you see LeBron James goes 1 for 10. He had a woeful second quarter. And then Kyrie was 1 for 7. So that was their big chance. And they did get back in the game, but you almost think that they could have gotten closer with that kind of shooting from the Cavaliers. And that was a good sign for the Warriors. But then the starters come out again in the third quarter, and it was the massacre again. Ended up being 38 to 26, and they just blew the game out. It was over by then. And who was doing the damage? LeBron, 5 for 6. There's no way to stop him on those ISOs. And then JR was 3 for 3, and Kyrie 3 for 5, and that was it. The game was over very rapidly. And at that point, it was pretty much the red flag. So an interesting moment here for everybody involved. Here, come back. Let's see here. They can switch back to my camera in 1 second. So, an interesting moment for everybody here, and we'll have to see what happens with Game 4. It certainly provides a lot more drama and a lot more interest. I'm really excited to find out because, to be honest with you, I was worried that it was going to be a sweep, and that was no good for anybody. And it didn't, there was very few nuggets in that first 2 games that showed you that the Cavaliers had something going. So the only question now is it an anomaly? Are they going to get that kind of shooting again from Kyrie? Are they going to get that kind of shooting again from J.R. Smith? And then on the flip side, are Clay and Curry going to be quiet like this again? It doesn't compute. They haven't been this way for 2 seasons at least, where they've had such consistent sort of moments of just they can't get it going. So it'll be interesting breakdown to go back through that footage frame by frame and really look at what's going on. And then Friday, game on, man. It's going to be a great game. I hope you're all with us on Twitter. During the games, we're doing a lot of cool vines. We have the best analysis, written analysis on our .com. So you got to head over there and check it out because we have terrific writers. Jesse over as our editor-in-chief is fantastic doing the editing there and curating all the things together. So definitely make it a daily stop to our website. Also, our app will help you on that as well. It has everything there, plus a vibrant community with people having discussions and GIFs and polls and texts, and you can communicate with me directly. It's a fantastic app, so download that. And our podcast, again, is terrific guests as well. Really great analysis there. So don't miss all of the B-Ball Breakdown umbrella. Well, thanks for joining us. And don't forget, sports fans, at B-Ball Breakdown, we're not a channel, we're a conversation. You in?